Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This morning we have some visitors with us this morning from the Solicitor's office and from Rodney Sabb's office. Give them your undivided attention as they have some valuable information that can not only help you presently, but in your future life. I'll present them to you now.
Hey, good morning. How y'all feeling? Well, I'm Attorney Dalvin Harvey, and he mentioned that somebody from Senator Sabb's office was here, and that would be me. But more importantly, I'm somebody that grew up, was born and raised, and went to Hemingway High School, right in this area. I see Ms. Adams on the front row. How you doing, Ms. Adams? And many people that I know from throughout the community. So one of the things that I want you all to know is that the information that we want to attempt to provide to you is for your benefit. It is to make sure that you all are armed with the knowledge that you need to so that you don't fall victim to situations that may impact your future for the rest of your life. And when I reach out to Dr. Davis and Superintendent Williams and Warren Anderson, who's to my right, and Elder Alston, who's to my left, and I asked them to come here this morning, one of the reasons is because I love my community so very much. And I love the young people in my community so very much that I don't want to see you all in a situation that I know you don't want to be in a situation where I know your parents don't want you to be in situations that I know your teachers and those in your community that love you don't want you to be in. And so some of the topics we're going to cover are really the topics that we see the most. One that bothers me greatly, and I'm going to say this because I want you to know that most of you all have not done any of these things. But I do believe that you may know somebody that may engage in some of these things, and I want you to be able to tell a friend, hey friend, not to do this particular thing because it could have this particular consequence. And so in the world in which we live in, we have to look out for each other. And in looking out for each other, being friends to each other, it means that we make sure that we take care of our friends and make sure they're not going down the wrong paths. So one of the things that really bothered me and triggered me to even want to be here is that I heard that there were some people getting involved in gun violence. And so we wanted to really start with that conversation. Gun violence is one of the things in our community that the Solicitor's office, I know personally, will not accept in any way, shape, or form. We need peaceful communities where our elderly and young people like yourselves can roam and enjoy peacefully. And so if you know individuals who are engaged in gun violence, they're shooting at other people, shooting into houses, or bringing guns to schools, it's important that you all know that that is not cool in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing comical about it. There's nothing to feel like you are the man or the woman when you do those things. You are a detriment to our community, and you should know that the Solicitor's office is going to start targeting those individuals who do those particular things. And what does that look like? It looks like people going to prison for a very, very long period of time. And so while I know that's not anybody here, I know that you may know somebody who may be engaged in that type of activity. Now I want you to be armed with the knowledge to be able to tell them to stop. Now we also have some other topics we're going to cover, and we want to hear from you all, obviously, with questions. Topics concerning cyberbullying, topics concerning use of the internet and cell phone, topics concerning truancy, something as simple as coming to school on time and on a regular basis. And so I want you all to take advantage of this opportunity. It's very rare that you have 3 lawyers who are willing to answer questions for free, come before you and be able to answer them in a way that you can trust. And so I thank you all. I thank Principal Frierson, the Superintendent, Dr. Davis, and all the teachers and staff here. I do understand everything that you all do and the benefit that you all are to our community. And I thank you all for everything that you're doing and allowing us to be here today. Thank you.
How y'all doing this morning? That was really loud. All right. My name's Warren Anderson. I'm a prosecutor at the Williamsburg County Solicitor's Office. So I'm the prosecutor for the state. I'm the person that tries to send the person charged with criminal offense to prison, get them to where they need to be. Mr. Harmon pointed out something that I want to circle back to before I start my presentation. That everybody knows that kid is in trouble. And the best way to preserve your future, the best way to avoid ending up on a bad path, is just simply not hang out with that kid. You all know that kid. Don't hang out with them. Just try to encourage them on the right path. But if you're in the same car with them, you're going to go down the same road. Does that make sense? Mr. Harmon, and this is not going to be all doom and gloom. Children are the most valuable resource in a community. So we're here today to try to preserve that resource so that you all have the knowledge to make the right choices and go down the path to a productive citizenship. So guns and should do this. I'm sorry, y'all hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So guns, kids. Everybody knows guns are bad. Everybody knows guns can hurt people. But I want to talk to you about how we deal with juveniles with guns. Juvenile court, you may think that nothing's going to happen to you, that your record's going to be expunged when you're 18. And while parts of that are true, there are huge collateral consequences for juveniles who are caught with guns. Even possessing them. If in the state of South Carolina, if you're under 21 years of age, you can't own a pistol. So if you know someone who's less than 21 that has a pistol, they're committing a crime that you could get in trouble for and they could get in trouble for if y'all are picked up by the police. What we do when we get a case like this is it immediately perks up the prosecutors and lawyers. And Ms. Alston is the juvenile prosecutor. And those are the cases we put the gold star on. Those are the cases we put specific focus on. Because the consequences of gun crime are defining. A person can lose their life and it cannot be replaced. They're gone forever. It tears communities apart. People that are loved are lost. It's often people who are not the direct targets who end up being the victims of random shootings. It's not the person that was intended to be shot. And often these shootings can be prevented because the person simply did not have a firearm. So what I'm asking you to do before I go into my presentation proper is just, if you know someone has a gun, don't be around. Because you're putting yourself in the line of danger, both physically from gun violence, but also from losing your future to the judicial system. And no one wants that. I don't ever want to see any of y'all in my courtroom, other than as a jury. So that's what's me on guns. I'm going to talk to you now about 3 broad topics. Drugs, vapes, and gangs. All right. And so y'all have been alive for at least 12 years to be here, I guess. You all know drugs are bad. I'm not going to get up here and tell y'all don't need to do methamphetamine. I'm not going to get up here and tell y'all don't need to do heroin. What I'm going to talk to you about is the drugs that you're actually likely to encounter and how they affect your life. And I've said collateral consequences earlier. I don't know if y'all know what that means. It means things that you don't intend to affect your life that have unforeseen results. So let's take party drugs like marijuana or ecstasy or Adderall or pills. Those are the drugs that we see children and juveniles using most frequently. And you may think, well, no one's ever got addicted to marijuana. No one's ever died. But that's a very dangerous line of thinking for two reasons. One, for yourself, because there's a substance now called fentanyl, and unscrupulous drug dealers are mixing this substance with drugs they know people will use because they don't think are harmful. We're getting marijuana that is testing positive for fentanyl. We're getting pills that are testing positive for fentanyl. An incredibly small amount of this substance can result in your death. An incredibly small amount of this substance can result in your permanent injury or disability. So just know that if you don't know what it is, it could kill you. And so just because you don't think that these substances are harmful, you have no way of knowing. So that's my spiel about doing these lesser drugs that people perceive to be lesser. But then let's talk about the legal aspects. All of this stuff is illegal. And you may think, well, I'm a juvenile. What's the worst they're going to do to me if I get caught with one of these lesser drugs? Well, first off, you're going to have to go through the juvenile court system. Your parents are going to be furious. You're going to have to do drug treatment programs. You're going to have to do community service. But more than that, you can lose your scholarship. So if you're planning on going to college somewhere and bettering your life, that will be stripped away from you if you're caught with narcotics. So don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And just because don't be in a car with drugs, don't be near a person with drugs, because there's concepts of constructive possession, where if law enforcement pulls over a car and there's drugs in the center console, and there's 4 students in this car, how many students do you think are going to jail? 4. All 4. And Ms. Alston's going to talk to you about hand-to-one handball. And, this is not even a judicial thing. This is common sense. How mad would your parents be if you went to jail over somebody else's drug in a center console? Think about that. That's what I think about when I was a kid. I'd come home with a sore tail. So don't do it. It's not worth it. It will destroy your life. It can end your life if you take drugs that are mixed with fentanyl. All right, so now I want to talk to you about vapes. I know these are incredibly prevalent. My wife works at a high school in Manning, and I know that they're disguised as innocuous things like drink cups, like USB drives. It's very difficult for your teachers to tell what is and what is not a vape. But the same caution I give you about these lesser drugs being mixed with fentanyl, I do about vapes. We have absolutely no idea what is in these substances. Oftentimes it is incredibly volatile, not homemade, but engineered narcotics. They cause hallucinations, they cause depression and illness. You don't know what it is, and you're taking it, and it can end your life, cause bad results, cause you to be expelled from school, cause you to lose your education. And it's just not worth it. We don't know what, even if it's just nicotine, you're still addicting yourself to a substance that's going to plague you the rest of your life and drain your pocket for the rest of your life. So that's my general outline about vapes. You shouldn't do it. You don't know what's in it, and it can kill you. All right, and now gangs. Everybody knows that gangs are bad. I'm not gonna go, it's just like I didn't tell you methamphetamine, don't do methamphetamine. Y'all know that. Y'all know not to be in gangs. But the unforeseen consequences of hanging out in a group like that cannot be overstated. Again, we're with the prosecutor's office. The people we particularly target and try to prosecute zealously are the people who are in gangs. So the second that we associate with that, you've got a target on your back from the prosecutor's office, from the law enforcement's office. But again, I'm not here to be doom and gloom. I don't want you to feel like the judicial system's against you. It's bad because it's bad. The goals of these organizations is criminal activity. It's hurting other people, taking their property, intimidating people. And you're dedicating your life to that. You absolutely should not do that. You are young. This is your opportunity to pick a good choice, to choose the right path. And nothing good lies down the path. You could either be arrested, go to jail, you could be killed by a rival gang, drawn up into one of these other things I've already talked about. And it's simply not worth it. And it's often guilty by association. If you're just hanging out with those people, you may not actually be in the gang, but you're riding with them and you're near them. Well, that smoke is going to dirty you. You're going to get dragged in the same net that they get caught in. And this is what the most impactful part of my discussion with you about gangs is in the end, when they're in court and we have them, they all turn on each other. Once the fire actually is put to their feet, all of the loyalty that they espouse and talk about disappears. They always turn on each other, and they all go to prison. So that's what being a gang really results in. I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just saying that they may say that you'll be their friend, they may say they'll be your family, but as soon as you get caught, they're going to turn on you. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, y'all sound so down and sleepy. Come on, stretch. Good morning. Good morning. All right, get up. So, as Attorney Harvey and Attorney Anderson said, my name is Ella Austin, and I have the special title of juvenile prosecutor. So everybody who's in here 12 and up, well, between the ages of 12 and 18, you can see me in juvenile court, but you don't want to see me. Okay? The only thing that breaks my heart the most in juvenile court is seeing children with so much potential come before me with serious charges, and I have to see them over and over and over again, and they lose sight of their future. Like you said earlier, we kind of touched on it. This can affect your college career. This can affect you in your business life as an adult. You don't want these things to follow you out of life. So we're going to touch on these important topics so that you can stay on the right path. So another issue that we kind of have in Williamsburg County is property crimes. I know that sounds weird. What you mean property? Like people like the Hatfields and the McCoys fighting over land, but it's not like that. It's like breaking into cars. It's like trespassing places you shouldn't be, going places that are closed at the hours that you shouldn't be at. And those things can actually build up. In South Carolina, there are enhancement crimes, and property crimes fall under that umbrella. So if you do it over and over and over again, let's say you get 3 chances. It's like baseball, 3 strikes and you're out. Once you do it that 3rd time, the amount of time the judge can give you into detention or even as an adult increases. That means more time away from your family, more time away from your friends, more time away from your teachers, and you're going to miss out on their valuable education. Part of that is the hand one and hand the ball. Now, how many of you here have a best friend? I know everybody here got a best friend. All right. Now, you don't want your best friend to get in trouble, right? You don't want your best friend to get you in trouble, right? How many of y'all willing to go to jail for your best friend? Really? That's why we're here this morning. We gotta push you against that. A friend is supposed to convince you to do good things. When your friend comes up with the idea that we're gonna go do this bad thing that can result in us going to detention, you're supposed to be the angel on the shoulder. So don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not willing to go to jail for you. Okay? I don't want to see y'all there for your friends. How many of you think that your friend would go to jail for you? We hear that now, but a lot of people switch up when you get in the courtroom. That's true, yes they will. How do you think your parents would feel as you throw away your future because of a friend? Bad. All this time and effort that they put in to make sure that you be grown adults with a bright future, with good jobs, making lots of money, just wasted away because you made a bad decision following your friends. So even if you try to be the getaway driver, and your friend says, okay, I'm gonna go this way, you go that way, we're gonna split up, you snatch this, I'll snatch that, everybody's gonna get the same charge and you're held just as liable as that friend. But the thing you don't understand in juvenile court is a little bit more confidentiality and privacy. So you're going to be in that room with just your lawyer, just your parent, just the judge, and the prosecutor. Your friend isn't going to be there to help you there. You don't know what your friend told the cops. So the best thing is to advise them from going down that wrong path. Who has plans of going to college? All right. Who has plans of opening their own business? Who just has plans of making lots of money in general? Okay, getting in trouble can affect all of that. That's part of the collateral consequences we talked about. How many of you are going to college far away? So you're going to need a dorm on campus, right? Certain crimes can affect when you get placed in the dorm. Certain crimes can affect your scholarships. And the minute a college finds out that you have a criminal record, they may even take away your acceptance letter. So we don't want that. So the best thing is just to think about it, slow down. Be that voice of reason for your friends. Always take the high road. When you see that they're doing something wrong, say something. Stop them from doing it. Because you want the other person to succeed too, right? Y'all sound excited with the crime, but not happy with the good stuff. Okay. And like I said, y'all don't want to see me in court. If I see your name over and over and over again, I have no choice but to go to detention. And that's not a place that you want to be. Because I hear that Hemingway students have a lot of pride in their school. No? You know, I grew up under the Keisha. You know, I know Keisha got, pride really grew out blood. So y'all want to stay here with your teachers, with your friends? Y'all want to stay with your teachers? Well, I have a good example, okay? We just had juvenile court yesterday in Wilkesboro County. We had 2 students that had to go to detention in Columbia. And the schools there are worse. You have somebody telling you when you can eat, when you can sleep, you can't have the lights on, you can't go out in the yard, you can't go to recess with your friends. Sometimes you have to be isolated for long periods of time. No fun, no games, no cell phones, you're on lockdown. You're going to miss out on all these good activities that Hemingway has. You're going to miss out all the fun times, all the field trips, all the awards, all the banquets, all the art showcase, none of that goes on there. You have overworked, overstaffed employees who don't care about you like how your teachers and family do here. And that is not a place where you ought to be. So we're here to advise you against going there. Like I touched on about the property crimes. I know a lot of you heard about Trayvon Martin and Stand Your Ground, Castle Doctrine. It's just different other words for it. The laws aren't put into place just to get you in trouble, but they're also to protect you as well. If you step on somebody else's property or take somebody else's things and they feel in danger, they may retaliate in a way that be harmful to your health. They can even take your life just based on those principles alone. So it's not always the prosecutor office is always targeting you to get you all in trouble or to send you away to lock you up. It's sometimes that we do it to make sure that things are placed for your own safety as well. Because sometimes we need a wake-up call. We take things for granted. We don't want anybody taking our stuff, so somebody doesn't want you taking their stuff as well either. We don't want our property destroyed, and we don't need to destroy anyone else's property either. So, change the narrative. It's not all good, it's not all bad, it's in the middle, making sure that everybody is safe and protected, because we want fairness and justice for everyone.
Is there anyone here that would have Is there anyone here that has any questions for our panel?
What's the tension?
I heard the question. So she said, what is detention? So let's say you do a violent crime that involves a gun. Law enforcement gets called out. They're going to come in those black trucks, drive you all the way to Columbia to the Department of Juvenile Justice. Once you get there, you take away any electronics that you may have on you, any contraband you may have on you. You give a uniform, and you go behind the bars. It's kind of like jail, but with children. Detention isn't a place you want to be, because if you get in trouble, and you do a serious enough crime, the judge can't order that you stay there till your 22nd birthday. That's a lot of years. Considering the fact that some of you here are 12, between the ages of 12 and 18, that's the good years of your life going. You have the set time when you eat lunch, you still have to go to class, and you only have about a few minutes break. It's no fun, no friends, no visitors, especially lately because they've been on lockdown. So you really don't want to get in trouble now because you won't be able to go say anything. But overall, it's kind of like prison for little kids.
Then her question is a property crimes question. If someone puts trash in someone else's yard and the person, the homeowner, comes out with a gun, who's at fault? And the other question was in reference to what exactly is the juvenile detention like? Beyond what you said.
That's a really good question. So, to deal with the first part, was asked, is it a property crime if you put trash in somebody else's yard? That's not quite a property crime. The classic example of a property crime is shoplifting. It was also talked about how property crimes are enhancing. So we're going to go through a little back pattern. Let's say this person, they're 18 years old. They've just gotten past their 18th birthday. They steal a pack of Juicy Fruit bubble gum, 25 cents in the store. Sorry, I keep moving away from this thing. All right, they steal a pack of Juicy Fruit. How long can they go to jail for?
7 years.
Up to 30 days. All right, it's a misdemeanor shot. All right. And they go back and they steal another stick of Juicy Fruit. How long can they go for that time? 30 days this time. That's strike 2. Let's say they steal a 1 cent, one stick of the bubble gum. They don't even steal the whole pack the third time. How long can they get? 10 years. That's what Ms. Alston was talking about, property crimes. South Carolina, those are the collateral consequences that she was talking about. So just watch out for that. So don't steal. Don't take things that belong to you. And don't take abandoned, what you think is abandoned property. She mentioned in the question, trash in the jars. Oftentimes people get in trouble, they see some old junk car, or they see some scrap metal out there, and they go out there looking around or somebody's shed, and they don't think anybody will miss it. But if it costs 1 cent and you get convicted for it, it counts as a property crime. I think I've lost the thread of it. She asked something about the homeowner confronting a person over dumping trash in the yard. That would be more dependent on the facts. We'd have to see more testimony of it. Generally, you should not confront people with firearms for any reason. There was another part of the question.
The student wanted a more detailed description of what juvenile detention was like.
It's not fun is the broadest definition I can give it. It's you're going to be in a dormitory. It is not as strict as being in SCDC, but it's the least amount of fun you could possibly imagine, and the least amount of freedoms. They're not taking people to the bed. It's bad, or it's not fun. And we don't like to send children there. It's not something we relish in this job. It's almost specifically preserved for children who commit violent acts and children who use firearms.
I have some questions that were submitted. These questions have to do with marijuana use at traffic stops, or having marijuana visible, or the smell of marijuana. So if you're stopped and the police officer comes to your car and the smell of marijuana, what's
Gotcha.
gonna happen?
So I just want to back up just a second and talk about marijuana usage by individuals under the age of 25. All right, individuals under the age of 25. So one of the reasons why it is bad to use marijuana when you're under the age of 25 is because marijuana has the capacity to limit or slow down your brain development. So specifically what marijuana does to somebody who does not have a fully developed brain, which would be you all, it keeps the frontal lobe of your brain from developing. Anybody know what the frontal lobe of your brain does for you? I'm sure you don't. So the frontal lobe of your brain allows you, as it develops, it allows you to say no to stuff. It is the thing that controls impulses. So what happens when you smoke marijuana before your brain has fully developed is that you lose the ability to say no to things that as an adult you should say no to. I'll give you an example. Anybody got a little sister or brother? When you go into the grocery store, at the very front of the store, they put items of impulse at the front of the store. What are those items? Candy, right? Right next to the register. It's there for a purpose because it's an impulse item. It's not something that you went to the store for. It's not something that you had on your list. It's not something that would benefit you health-wise. But in an impulse, you will purchase it. So they put it there for people who can't control impulses. If you got a little sister and brother, they usually go crazy right at that moment because they want what? A piece of candy, right? Their impulses tell them, I want this candy, and they can't say no to it. No matter how many times your mother says or your father says, no, this isn't good for you, they want that candy. And so when you smoke marijuana before your brain fully develops, it takes away your ability to control your impulses. And in essence, it leaves you in a state of a child. Now think about that for a second. To be a full-grown adult, but you're still thinking like your little sister and brother. That's what marijuana does, and that's why it is dangerous for you all. Now, going to this question of what happens if a police officer smells marijuana in a vehicle. Let's break this down completely. First and foremost, you should not be in a vehicle that has the smell of marijuana emanating from it. If somehow you find yourself in that situation, just know that law enforcement is going to search that vehicle. The smell of marijuana is one of the main factors that they're going to use. But you should also know that there are other factors. If you look like you're in a gang, meaning you have gang colors, if you can't talk about where you're going, where you're coming from, if you're acting nervous, if your friends are giving different stories about what's going on, yeah, all those things will lead to law enforcement searching the vehicle. I saw somebody raise their hand when the question was asked whether or not they would go to jail for somebody, and then the same person raised their hand when asked about whether or not they wanted to have a great future for themselves. Those two things don't go hand in hand. There is no way you can have the mentality of wanting to go to jail. And let's talk about what jail is. Jail is when society says that you have no value to your community, that you are such a problem and menace to your community that we have to put you in a cage and shackle you to keep you away from your community. That's what jail is. So for you to say that you would want to be away from everything in your life for somebody else, and then also to say that you want to have a bright and prosperous future, those two concepts do not go hand in hand. And so you have to choose. If your pathway is to jail, your pathway is not to having a bright and prosperous future. And if your friends would allow you to go to jail for you, go to jail for them rather, then they don't care if you have a bright future. And so that's not a friend, right? 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 Because a friend is somebody that cares about you. That's the definition of a friend. And so if a friend is going to allow you to give up your future, then that's not a friend. It's a simple analogy, simple logic. And so when if you're in a vehicle and somebody says, law enforcement comes up and they say, hey, is there marijuana in the vehicle? And it's in the center console, and you know it's not your marijuana. The play here is simple. The person who the marijuana belongs to should do what? The person that the marijuana belongs to should do what? They should own up to it. Why should they own up to it? Because there are three other people whose lives are at stake. There are three other people that you call friends that you should want to protect. And so if somebody puts you in a situation where they don't do what they're supposed to do in that situation, you should know that's not your friend. You can go ahead and delete them out of your favorites. You can go ahead and take them out of your cell phone. You can go ahead and stop having interactions with that person. And if that's your boyfriend or your girlfriend that puts you in that situation, you definitely need to separate yourself from that interaction. I give you this advice not to be preachy, but just to be real. Because so often, we don't have real conversations. Your life is so very important. When I look out into this audience, I don't see children. I see future doctors and future lawyers, future teachers, future principals. I see the future of your life, not where you sit right now, but you can do things right now that will keep your future from happening. And you can do it thinking that it's fun, or you can do it not thinking at all. Because when I was your age, I really didn't think that much about the things that I did. And I wish I had more people that talked to me and gave me advice about the things of life instead of just schoolwork, so that I knew things to avoid. And you all have an opportunity today. You all have an opportunity to decide that if you are engaged in anything that has been mentioned, you stealing stuff from people, if you got marijuana on you right now, sitting here, if you're gonna leave school and go smoke, you're gonna, you know where a gun is and your friend is gonna pass you a gun when you leave here, if any of that stuff is anything that's on your mind, you have an opportunity today to say no to that. And I know that some of the people that I've seen get reprimanded while I've been here by teachers, I know that they're not about that, but you need to understand that when you interrupt other people from gaining information because it doesn't apply to you, then you're doing a disservice to your friends and to the people in the school. And so I want to go to the question of the young person with the hand up. How many years did it take me to become a lawyer in school? So I was a little blessed in that it took me 6 years, but normally to become a lawyer it takes 7 years. 3 years in undergrad, 4 years in undergrad, and 3 years in law school. Yes, sir.
Discharge of a weapon in the presence of a minor.
In the presence of a minor, actually.
That's how a minor.
Okay.
Accidental. Okay.
That's a good question. So it circles back to the point I made earlier about juveniles aren't supposed to have guns. If you're less than 21 years of age, you cannot own this in the state of South Carolina. If you're less than 18 years of age, you cannot have a rifle or shotgun unless various supervision or hunt, stuff like that. So they would be certainly charged with crime just for possession of the gun. No, go ahead and get that question.
What's the consequence of cyberbullying?
Cyberbullying, consequences for cyberbullying. That was a question that was submitted.
That was actually on our list of topics. You missed it somehow. I'll talk to you broadly about cell phones, cyberbullying, and social media. And I think Mr. Harper something wants said on it too. This is subject here to his heart. This is a new series of crimes that everybody's adapted to, and it specifically affects young people. Old people aren't stalking each other on Facebook. It's young people. Just know, broadly, not even in the criminal sense, not even from a lawyer, me talking to you as a human being, anything that you put on the internet is there forever. I don't care if the app says it's deleted. I don't care if the app says it's been removed. It exists. So if it's not something that you would want when you apply for college to be shown to the person that's deciding whether you go to college, don't put it up. It's not something that you would want the person that's taking your job interview to see. Don't put it up. It is permanent. These apps that say that it's deleted, we commonly get everything that they have when we get search warrants. There's nothing private on the internet. And people often think since they're operating not in the real world, they're operating in cyberspace, that their actions don't have consequences. They can bully other people, they can intimidate other people, and make their lives miserable. Just know that there are consequences for it. South Carolina has several statutes designed to deal with electronic communications that are harmful to others, to deal with stalking and harassing type behaviors. We don't specifically have a cyberbullying statute, but it is legal to threaten someone by any means in the state of South Carolina, electronically. I also want to talk to you about a subject that no one really wants to talk about, is taking naked pictures of yourself. Don't do it, kids. It's a federal crime. It has huge consequences. We deal with it all the time. Everybody says, oh, we don't do that. Do not do that. It's illegal for you to do it. It's illegal for the person you sent it to. Just don't do it. It was a great question about cyberbullying.
Another question, is there a way that someone can detox or flush their system after marijuana use?
We're lawyers, not biologists.
Thank you. This one, I think Mr. Price can address. Is there a hotline or an anonymous way to report report that someone has a gun?
If you have knowledge, of anyone that may have a weapon in their possession, while they're here on campus, you can just slide a note up under an administrator's door and we'll take care of the rest. You do not have to put your name on that note. And the next question that Ms. Lewis asked will be our final question.
This question has to do with the amount of time that juveniles serve. If they get the 10 years or the 7 years, what happens after they are released?
So I'm gonna touch back on it for a little bit. So every time we have juvenile court, the judge gives this long speech from either the simplest offense, like from shoplifting that little 10-cent piece of candy, to crimes involving death. A judge can sentence you up to your 22nd birthday in South Carolina. Now, once you are released, there are different factors that go into your release. You could be released a little earlier, or you were released on parole. It's kind of like making sure that once you get out, that you don't get in trouble again. They give you a little probationary sentence, but they said, as long as you don't get in trouble within these next months, we won't violate you. Now here's the little discrepancy that goes on. If you commit a crime before you turn 18, you can be held until your 22nd birthday. But the day you turn 18 and you commit a crime, then, depending on what that offense is, it can carry jail or prison time.
We'd like to thank our panel for their much needed advice and their much needed wisdom that they shared with us today. Let's give them a Hemingway round of applause. We're going to go back to our classes right now. We're going to start with this section right here to my immediate left. If you would quietly come down the steps